He was the lovable mess on our screens. The guy who got it wrong more often than right, but somehow we loved him for it. Austin Chumlee Russell wasn't the expert, the boss, or the brains behind Pawn Stars, but without him, the show never felt the same. Then one day he just disappeared. No goodbye, no send-off, just gone. And what followed was nothing short of unbelievable. A fan favorite one moment, a national scandal the next. Headlines exploded, police raids, felony charges, a double life no one saw coming. And just when everyone thought they knew the full story, another twist hit harder than the first. But this isn't just a story about a TV star falling from grace. It's about what happens when the world decides who you are, and you have to prove them all wrong. Before we get to the came, the downfall, and the unthinkable comeback, first, we need to understand how an ordinary guy accidentally became one of reality TV's most unforgettable faces. Because the very thing that made Chumlee famous is exactly what almost destroyed him. Austin Russell didn't audition for fame. He didn't chase the spotlight or dream of becoming a TV personality. In fact, he didn't even want to work in a pawn shop. Back in the early 2000s, he was just another guy in his 20s, killing time at his best friend's family business in Las Vegas. That friend? Corey Harrison. And the place? The gold and silver pawn shop, long before reality cameras ever showed up. At first, Chumlee was just background noise. The guy hanging out in the back, cracking jokes, watching old men argue over rusty antiques. Most people assumed he was dead weight, just another friend of the owner drifting through life with no direction. But something unexpected started happening. The guy everyone underestimated began noticing things the pros missed. He spotted rare video games buried under junk, vintage sneakers that turned out to be collector gold, comic books, sports cards, stuff that seemed like random junk to most, but not to him. Where others saw clutter, Chumlee saw value. Not guesses, not luck, real instinct, the kind of eye you can't teach. When Pawn Stars launched in 2009, the producers had their formula. Rick Harrison, the business mastermind. The old man full of no-nonsense wisdom. Corey, the heir apparent. What they didn't have was someone regular, someone the audience could actually relate to. That's where Chumlee came in. He wasn't cast as the star, he was meant to be the comic relief. The goofy guy who messed up so the experts could correct him. But that plan backfired in the best possible way. Viewers didn't laugh at Chumlee, they laughed with him. When he made a bad deal because he thought something was cool, people understood. We've all made impulsive buys that didn't make sense on paper. When he asked obvious questions, audiences realized they were wondering the same thing. Critics called him the village idiot. But fans saw something different: honesty. Chumlee was messy, awkward, and completely real. And in a world full of polished reality TV personas, that made him magnetic. His mistakes didn't make him weak. They made him relatable. And before anyone realized it, the guy who wasn't even supposed to be in front of the camera had become the most talked about face on the show. But the same thing that made him a breakout star would soon become the first crack in his foundation. Chumlee could have stayed the funny sidekick forever, collecting a paycheck, cracking jokes, and staying in the background. But he saw something bigger. He understood what most reality stars never figure out. If the audience connects with you, you have leverage. And he used it. As Pawn Stars exploded in popularity, fans didn't just tune in for rare antiques or wild negotiations. They tuned in for him. Chumlee became the pulse of the show. When episodes focused on his passions, retro games, trading cards, pop culture collectibles, ratings didn't just hold, they spiked. He'd built a following without even trying, just by being himself. So he made his first smart move. Merch, t-shirts, bobbleheads, posters, keychains. Not flashy, not overpriced, just simple, fun stuff that let fans feel connected. He became a walking brand without needing a catchphrase or a marketing team. And in 2010, he doubled down. Chumlee sold 50% of his name and likeness rights to Rick Harrison for $150,000. It was a move that stunned the industry. The guy who once worked behind the counter for free had turned his personality into a six-figure asset. Just like that, he wasn't just part of Pawn Stars. He was a business. And yet, he didn't change. No Hollywood makeover, no attitude shift. Same baggy shirts, same goofy smile, same awkward charm. That was his magic. The more success he found, the more grounded he stayed. While other reality stars chased endorsement deals and tabloid attention, Chumlee stayed in his lane, focused on what he loved and the people who supported him. But what no one realized, not the producers, not his fans, not even Chumlee himself, was that the very authenticity that made him a star would also leave him completely unprotected. Because when the world sees the real you, your mistakes don't hide behind PR statements or polished interviews. They live on the surface. And eventually, they come crashing into the spotlight. The fame he built on being real with Babel was about to expose everything he'd tried to keep hidden. At first, nobody could believe what they were seeing. Fans tuning into Pawn Stars around 2013 did double takes. Austin Chumlee Russell was shrinking. Fast. Not a subtle change, not a new haircut or tighter clothes. This was a full-on transformation. His face slimmed down, his frame looked smaller with every episode. It wasn't just noticeable, it was alarming. And that's when the rumors started. Was he sick? Was it drugs? Surgery? Had he secretly gotten lipo? The theories spread like wildfire. Everyone had an opinion, but no one had answers. Because this wasn't the kind of slow, steady progress people were used to. It looked like he was disappearing overnight. The truth? It started with a gut punch that had nothing to do with TV. Chumlee's father died of pancreatic cancer at just 54 years old. That kind of loss doesn't just break your heart, it forces you to confront your future. For Chumlee, the warning was crystal clear. He was over 350 pounds, living off fast food, gaming into the night, and ignoring every red flag his body threw at him. His dad's death wasn't just painful, it was a glimpse into his own fate. But if we're being honest, fear alone isn't enough to change most people. What really lit the fire was watching his best friend, Corey Harrison, lose 200 pounds and completely reinvent himself. Corey's transformation hit close to home. It wasn't some celebrity diet or sponsored detox. It was someone Chumlee had known his entire life. And if Corey could do it, maybe he could too. So he went all in. No more drive-through runs between filming, no more binge eating during late-night gaming marathons. He overhauled everything: clean eating, smaller portions, exercise, self-discipline, words that had never really been part of his vocabulary before. And it worked. The weight came off fast, fans were floored, he looked like a different person, and for a while he felt like one too. His energy came back, his confidence spiked. And for the first time, the world wasn't laughing at Chumlee, they were cheering him on. But here's what nobody ever tells you. Losing the weight is the easy part. Keeping it off, that's the war most people lose. And Chumlee was no different. The pounds started creeping back, slowly at first, then all at once. The yo-yo effect hit him hard, and the internet noticed. Comment sections turned cruel. Memes surfaced. Fans who once praised him now whispered disappointment. Every fluctuation became public debate, and behind the scenes, Chumlee was spiraling. He'd proven to the world that he could change. But now, with every backslide, he felt like a failure all over again. The emotional toll was brutal. He wasn't just fighting food cravings, he was battling shame, self-doubt, and the crushing pressure of millions of eyes watching his every move. Then he made a decision, one that would change everything: gastric bypass surgery. Not for vanity, not for likes, for survival. Because this time it wasn't about what fans thought, it was about staying alive. March 9th, 2016. For most people, it was just another Wednesday. For Chumlee, it was the day everything came crashing down. There was no warning, no scandal brewing, no public drama, just a knock at his front door, followed by armed officers from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. They weren't fans, they weren't asking for autographs, they came with a search warrant and a list of accusations that would send shockwaves through his world. The investigation started with a serious allegation: sexual misconduct tied to a separate case. Chumlee's name had surfaced and police were following up. But what they found inside his home had almost nothing to do with the original report. It was worse. Inside the house, police uncovered what looked like a secret life, one completely at odds with the goofy, harmless guy America thought they knew. They found 12 firearms scattered throughout the home. Some were unregistered, others were military-grade weapons that raised serious legal questions. Why did he even have them? Then came the drugs: methamphetamine, marijuana, unlabeled prescription pills, cocaine residue in private spaces. It wasn't just a few bad choices lying around. It was a full-blown arsenal of red flags. It didn't just look illegal, it looked dangerous. The contrast was staggering. This was the same guy who'd been selling candy and collectibles. The same guy who fans saw as lovable, clumsy, and innocent. Now he was front-page news. By the end of the day, the headlines were everywhere. Pawn Stars scandal, Chumlee busted in drug and gun raid, reality star facing 20 felony charges. Fans were devastated, confused, betrayed. How could this be the same person they'd rooted for? The media tore through his past like vultures. Every interview was rewatched. Every joke now seemed like a clue everyone missed. His weight loss transformation? Questioned. His collectibles business? Scrutinized. Even his friends were dragged into the spotlight. Chumlee was staring down 20 felony counts, drug possession, unlawful weapons, allegations of endangerment. If convicted on all charges, he was looking at up to 70 years in prison. At just 33 years old, that was basically a life sentence. And just like that, the brand he built, the trust he earned, was gone. The t-shirts stopped selling. The show stopped mentioning his name. The audience stopped laughing. The lovable goofball had become the cautionary tale. And in the eyes of the public, he was already guilty. After the headlines faded and the shock wore off, something strange happened. Chumlee didn't fight back. No press conference, no teary apology video, no desperate attempt to save face on social media. He just vanished. Most celebrities in his position launch full-scale damage control, PR firms, crisis managers, talk show appearances to set the record straight. But not Chumlee. He posted his $62,000 bail and slipped into total silence. No statements, no camera crews, no "I've changed" tour. For someone who made his living being visible, the sudden disappearance was deafening. But while the world assumed he was hiding in shame, the truth was something else entirely. He was rebuilding. Out of the public eye, Chumlee faced his charges and made a decision that likely saved his life, even if it cost him his career. His legal team negotiated a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to 1 felony for unlawful firearm possession and 1 misdemeanor for attempted drug possession. In exchange, he avoided prison. Instead, he got 3 years of probation, mandatory counseling, drug testing, and the surrender of everything found during the raid. It wasn't just a legal victory, it was a lifeline. But it came with a piece to eat. Pawn Stars cut him loose, quietly, without announcement. No farewell episode, no tribute. One day he was there, the next gone. The producers scrubbed him from promos. His merch was pulled. Public appearances dried up overnight. For most reality TV stars, that's the end of the story. But Chumlee wasn't interested in survival for the cameras. He was trying to survive for real. He spent the next 3 years almost completely off the grid. No interviews, no podcasts, no clickbait stories. He wasn't trying to reclaim fame, he was trying to fix his life. While the world moved on without him, he stayed grounded in Las Vegas, attended his counseling, passed his tests, kept quiet. And somewhere in that silence, the rebuilding began. Not for fans, not for TV, but for himself. And then, just when people thought he'd disappeared forever, he opened a candy store. Not a nightclub, not a podcast, not a flashy comeback stunt. A humble little shop called Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard. Nestled on the Strip, filled with nostalgic sweets and old-school charm. A place where parents could bring their kids, where he could interact with people in a way that felt safe, personal, and, most importantly, real. It wasn't a brand, it wasn't a headline, it was therapy. And while it flew under the radar for most of the media, something unexpected began to happen. The guy the internet had canceled started quietly winning people back. When most celebrities fall, their comebacks feel scripted. Cue the emotional interview. Cue the book deal. Cue the redemption arc, packaged, produced, and perfectly timed. But Chumlee didn't follow that playbook. He didn't hire a team to rebrand him. He didn't sell his story to the highest bidder. Instead, he did something almost no one in his position ever does. He started over, quietly. The candy store wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't some ironic, "look how sweet I am now" stunt. It was simple, nostalgic, almost childlike. And more importantly, it was real. There were no camera crews when he opened the doors. No red carpet, no press. Just a middle-aged guy behind a counter, scooping gummy worms and ringing up parents with kids who remembered him from TV. And slowly, something shifted. People started seeing past the headlines, past the mugshots and the memes. They saw a guy who wasn't trying to be famous again. He was just trying to live better. And Chumlee didn't just vanish online, he evolved there too. His social media became a window into the new version of himself, and it wasn't polished or performative. It was raw and weird and deeply personal. He posted videos of himself unboxing Pokemon cards, showing off retro collectibles, playing with his dog, just being a nerdy guy with old hobbies and new priorities. The lighting was bad, the camera was shaky, the captions were awkward, but that's why people believed him. He wasn't curating an image, he was living a life, one step at a time. The comments shifted from trolling to encouragement. Fans who once wrote him off started cheering him on, not because he asked for forgiveness, but because he showed he had changed. And behind the scenes, that transformation continued. The gastric bypass surgery, still working, over 160 pounds kept off, not through fads, but through new habits and discipline. His relationship with food had changed. His relationship with fame had changed. And most importantly, his relationship with himself had changed. Then one day, without warning or promo, he came back to Pawn Stars. No special announcement, no dramatic return episode, no emotional reunion. Just Chumlee, back in the shop, doing what he used to do, talking collectibles, cracking bad jokes, being himself. And it worked, because now he wasn't a punchline, he was proof. Proof that comebacks don't need applause. They need actions. Consistent, boring, quiet actions. Stacked day after day. Chumlee didn't reclaim his fame, he outgrew it. In a world obsessed with cancel culture, image control, and carefully choreographed comebacks, what Austin Chumlee Russell did wasn't just rare, it was almost unthinkable. He didn't profit off his downfall. He didn't sell trauma for sympathy. He didn't reappear in a documentary crying on cue. Instead, he took the hardest route anyone can take. He changed for real, even when no one was watching. There were no brand partnerships, no scripted apologies, no inspirational content drops. Just steady progress, quiet discipline, and an uncomfortable amount of honesty. Because here's the truth. Most celebrity redemptions are just image rehab in disguise. But Chumlee didn't care about the optics. He cared about the work. And that's exactly what made people believe in him again. He didn't erase his past. He owned it. He didn't run from the headlines. He outlived them. When the internet said he was finished, he said nothing. He just kept going. By 2021, his candy store had survived longer than most celebrity side projects. His social media presence remained low-key and genuine. No viral gimmicks, no desperate attempts to chase relevance. Just a guy talking about Pokemon cards, collectibles, his dog, and occasionally in his gratitude. And his return to Pawn Stars? It wasn't a grand finale, it was a quiet re-entry, because he earned it. The producers didn't give him a dramatic redemption arc. They just let him show up, like nothing had happened. And that was the brilliance of it, because it gave audiences the chance to see the man he'd become, not the mistakes he made. Today, Chumlee's net worth sits around $5 million. That's not wild Hollywood wealth, but it's hard-earned, legit, and clean. Not built on hype, built on staying the course. And maybe more important than the money is what that stability represents. Proof that real change is possible. We're used to seeing people fall. We're not used to seeing them get up and actually grow. And that's what makes Chumlee's story different. It wasn't about proving anything to the public. It was about proving something to himself. That he could be more than a scandal. That he could rebuild, not as a character, but as a human being. Because fame doesn't destroy people. It just amplifies who they already are. And when your worst moment becomes your most public one, you only have two options. Hide behind a fake version of yourself, or fight like hell to become someone better. Chumlee chose the second option. He didn't script a comeback, he lived one.